Hello, and welcome to day 3 of Toronto After Dark and the 31 Days of Horror. It is, yet again, it's almost 5:30 in the morning. Water. And before going to bed, I thought I'd let you in on what I caught at the festival today. Around 4 o'clock was the International Short Film Showcase. It had 9 short films. Honestly, I enjoyed I enjoyed all of the short films, but I didn't think they were quite as good as previous years, which is unfortunate. But there were a couple of films that I really enjoyed, and then a few others that I thought were really well done, but we're just missing that little bit of something that a short film needs to take it over the top. At 7 o'clock, this was the Zombie Appreciation night for Toronto After Dark, which is fun because they have a double bill of zombie movies, but they also give a discount to anyone who dresses up as a zombie and wants to buy tickets to the movies. So, as far as I know, they are the first and only film festival that gives a discount to the undead. There may be other film festivals who have followed suit since, but I do know that they were the first, and that at that time they were the only ones. So the first film, the 7 o'clock showing, this is October 19th, so the 7 o'clock October 19th, Saturday. The first zombie movie was from the UK, and it was called Stalled. Now, I think the poster to this film is quite good, but the film itself, probably my least favorite film of the festival thus far. It's the concept is essentially a janitor gets trapped in a washroom stall during an outbreak of the zombie apocalypse, essentially. And so I was kind of looking forward to this film and seeing just what they could do with this enclosed area and lack of mobility and other stimulus, but it didn't work. Their jokes weren't funny. The things that were going on were, for the most part, somewhat predictable. And it just wasn't much fun. I mean, it didn't look good. It was low budget and looked it. But yeah, I was hoping for something a little bit at least more entertaining. Though, like I said, I wanted to see what they were going to do with this enclosed space and how to make it work. And there were some intelligent pieces to the movie, some clever ideas and such, but they were too few and too far between, and some of the moments that are supposed to be funny, like, I mean, really smart. These are supposed to be moments where you're like laugh out loud funny, and they weren't at all. And to add insult to injury, they were long sequences. So instead of just being a short, 3-4 second little joke, it stretched out to like a good minute or so, and it never got too funny. it's not to say I didn't laugh. There were a few moments in the film where I was like, oh, that was clever. That's, get a little bit of a chuckle there. But for something that essentially it had three things that it was going for. One was the gore. There is a lot of red stuff going on in this film. Not realistic, but a lot of it. Two would be the comedy, and it was, supposed to be comedic essentially throughout. But the jokes were falling flat, at least for me and for a lot of the people I know who watched it. And the third part was sort of the message, if you will, of the film, which I thought was a little obscure at first, then heavy-handed, and a little all over the place, essentially, the way they were trying to deliver it. Yeah, I mean, the big reveal near the end of the film wasn't really much of a reveal for me. I mean, I talked to some people who didn't see it coming, but there was enough hints given in the film that made that reveal at the end really not much of a reveal at all. And then the film ended up making it a moot point anyways because it didn't matter. Yeah, it needed to be happier. It's hard to say. The one thing I will say that I liked, and will probably have me watching Stalled again, oddly enough, is that it's a Christmas movie. It's a zombie Christmas movie. It takes place in an office building during their Christmas party. So there are people dressed up as, Santa Claus and Jesus and elves, and there's Christmas music and lots of office party shenanigans going on. So in that sense, you know what? I'm a sucker for horror movies that fall into other holidays other than Halloween. So I may end up owning this film eventually if it comes out on video, just so I can have another Christmas horror movie. But yeah, I wasn't too impressed with it, honestly. The second film was I wouldn't say I was highly anticipating this film, but it was one of the two zombie films. This was the recommended viewing from people I knew who had seen both of them, or at least one of them before. And for the basically the 9 o'clock film, it was a film called The Battery. This one is directed by Jeremy Gardner. I think that's his name. And it's essentially it's a good film. It's not necessarily something I'm going to want to revisit over and over again, and if I see it more than one other time or two other times in my lifetime, I'll be surprised. But it's a fresh take on the genre. It's not about the zombies so much, because they did this on this uber cheap, and to do it, they essentially have two characters. And it's really a buddy road trip comedy, of sorts, that's just set during a zombie apocalypse. So there are jokes that relate to zombies, and there are zombies in the film, but it's more about the relationship between these two guys, and in that regard, it is really well done. These two guys, they're very natural in terms of the way they come across on screen, which is odd because you would you'd almost guarantee to yourself that these guys had to, they grew up together, like this may be their first movie that both of them have ever made, but they've probably known each other since elementary school. But no, they didn't know each other before this movie at all, which is awesome, because they just sort of, their characters, they just work together. Like, yeah, it's the dialogue. Oddly enough, it was helped by the fact that the director is also the writer and the actor. So he's. I didn't ask him. There was he had a Q&A and such, and I didn't ask him if it was all scripted or if there was, some a little bit of play with what was going on in terms of dialogue and some improvisation, because a lot of it was quite natural, the way it came across, and that's one of the things that really helped this film work and succeed. Now, it's not for everybody. Like I said, it's more about two guys on the road and their relationship, not so much about the zombies. There is a little bit of blood. There's a little bit of gore in there for all you gore fiends who like your zombie movies full of brains and such. But it obviously, budget constraints keep you from doing a lot of things, and so it's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of dialogue back and forth between these two guys, from situation to situation, be it whatever, the survival modes, the coping with this whole zombie apocalypse. We haven't had any contact with anybody other than zombies, and it's just you and me. Are we the last people alive? Can we stop being these mobile woodsmen and shack up someplace and sleep in a bed? Can we live some normal lives? Some have some normalcy. But it's the apocalypse, people. It's you got zombies, you got people trying to kill you at all times. So there's no normal anymore, right? So that would take a toll, and it's one of those things that's played, one of the themes, and that's played off in throughout the movie. So it's one of those films that I recommend, but I recommend with a footnote. If you're looking for a zombie movie but you want something different, you don't want your standard splatter, eat your brains, blah 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 type of zombie movie, but you still want to stick with that whole post-apocalyptic zombie apocalypse scenario, that world. You want to be enveloped in that world, but you want something a little bit different. So a story that takes place in that world, but it's not necessarily just that. Then The Battery is definitely for you. But like I said, it's two guys with lots of dialogue. It's them and their interactions and how they get along in this world. Much like, you got things like it doesn't have the action or the budget of like a Children of Men, but Children of Men had similar type things where it's just people and they're trying to get through this. Or say The Road. The Road would be more, I think, closer in terms of atmosphere and the solitude of, because it was only two people and trying to get by. But a lot of this takes place in the forest and cabins and such. So get your woodsman on and check out two guys trying to survive the zombie apocalypse, and check out Battery, the Battery, Battery, which is it's funny. It's a play on words on several counts, but I won't get into that. I'll let you see the movie so that you understand where that's coming from. But yeah, that was day 3 of Toronto After Dark. I'd say it's probably my least favorite day so far, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow. There are 3 movies playing tomorrow, so I will be starting from roughly about 4 o'clock and going on through until maybe you may see me again at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Or no, tomorrow. Oh God, I need to go to bed right after this water. But yeah, so you'll have 3 movies that I'm going to review next. Wow, aren't you lucky? I may have more booze tomorrow than I did tonight. So, instead of going on and rambling like a drunken fool, I'm going to bid you good night and give you a fair warning that the next video, it may be incoherent. I don't know. I'm not going to reshoot it. One shot, that's it. Through. It's the way I work. It's the way I roll. It's the way my homies like it. Unless you don't like it. I hope you like it. Do you like it? Do you prefer being straight off the cuff, or are you one of those people who likes the edits? Anyways, I need to go to bed. So, night.